Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into our channel. For those who don't already know, I'm Allie from Paint Go Studios, and I have some exciting news to share with you guys. Loot Studio has asked us to paint their models for their new game, Malediction. In this tutorial, we will be starting off on showing you how to paint your Seekers for the Conclave of the Spheres, so that they're ready for battle in just a few easy steps.
Matt will be starting off with Polinore. For the list of paints, please check the description below and follow along with the colors as they come up. Your model should look like this by the end of the tutorial. With the model primed in white, our first color will be Dark Reaper. We will be using it to paint the entire cloak. Make sure your paint is thin so it can flow into the recesses as shown. You will also be applying the same color to the pants. Once the first coat is dry, apply a second. This will give it a nice, full coverage. Next, we will be using Rhinox hide. With this color, we will be painting in a 1:1 ratio of paint and water. This allows you to paint the belt and the side pouch, as well as the boots, in one coat. In this step, don't worry about the scrolls as they will be touched up later. If you do spill over onto the pants or the cloak, just touch up with the Dark Reaper. It should look something like this by the end. We will now be using Wyldwood Contrast. This is going to be used to paint all the skin shown. Starting with the head, apply a liberal amount, making sure you have full coverage. While doing this step, make sure to avoid his beard. And because they are small, do not forget the fingertips, as seen here. Now we are going to use Balthazar Gold, and using a fine detail brush, along with a 1:1 ratio, we will be using this color to pick out some details. Carefully painting each scroll, belt buckle, leg armor, his right hand gauntlet, which Matt has already gone ahead and painted, and his shoulder pad. Please keep in mind we do not want the paint too thin, as we will only be doing one coat. Now, if you are feeling confident, you can also paint the lining of his cloak, tassels, and crown. This step is not necessary, but with a steady hand adds a nice touch. Please make sure you are only using the edge of your brush when doing this step. This will help you catch only the raised parts with minimal spillover. Here you can use any silver to paint his relic glove, avoiding the white on his sleeve. Now we are going to use Nuln oil, and with a large brush, mix 1 part water with 1 part contrast. This will help it go on nicely. Try to do this step fast to avoid any pooling, but if it does happen, take a little bit of water on your brush and dab the area before it dries. Next, take Frostheart blue and mix 1 part paint to 2 parts water. You're going to carefully apply this to the flames on his base. Try to avoid spilling over if you can. This is how it should look after it's done. Moving on to Baharroth blue. With this color, we will be painting Polinore's shoulder, belt, and gauntlet gems. Then, with a fine, detailed brush, we will paint his eyes. It should look something like this by the end. Switching gears a little bit here, we are going to be taking a dry brush, and with the same blue, we will be going over the top part of the flames only. So around 70 to 75% coverage is good. Before applying the color, please make sure to wipe off any excess paint on a paper towel to achieve this effect. And lastly, we're going to thin down the same paint with some water to paint the relic glove and scrolls. This will give it its glowing effect. As a bonus step, we are going to highlight his face by mixing dried bark in Cadian Fleshtone. Apply this to the raised areas of his face, as you can see Matt doing here. Moving on to Fenrisian Gray, we are going to be using this color to dry brush into the raised areas of Polinore's cloak. Again, making sure to wipe off any excess paint. It should have about 70 to 75% coverage. Now we will use Corax white, and with a fine detailed brush, we will highlight his beard, making sure not to spill over. After that is done, take a dry brush and apply it to the very tips of the flames, giving it around 25 to 30% coverage, like so. Using Agrax Earthshade, mix 2 parts water to 1 part contrast, and with a medium-sized brush, apply it to the stone, avoiding the flames. Abaddon Black will be the last color needed to finish off the model. Mixing 1 part paint to 1 part water, you will carefully paint the rim of the base, as seen here. And with that last step, Polinore is finished and ready for battle. Hope you guys had fun following along. Until next time. Next, Matt will be painting Londriel. For the list of paints, please check the description below and follow along with the colors as they come up. Your model should look like this at the end of this tutorial. With the model primed in white, our first color will be AK Silver. Using a medium brush and a 1:1 ratio, you want to cover all the armor and her spear front and back. This is how it should look by the end. Then with Kantor Blue and a fine tip brush, this is where we're going to paint her entire tunic underneath the armor. Starting from the bottom, make sure to paint the skirt front and back, the sleeves, and her neck. Paint consistency is 1 part water to 1 part paint. As you can see, this is how it should look. If you do end up spilling some of the blue onto the armor, don't worry, you can always touch it up with the same silver used in the first step. Do this step before applying a Fleshtone wash to the face. You can use any shade of your choosing. Here, Matt is using Reikland Fleshshade. Black panel liner will be used to shade the armor. The reason why Matt is using this versus Nuln oil is to achieve a darker effect in the recesses, but you can always use Nuln oil to get a similar effect if that's all you have available. Liberally applying this straight from the pot to cover all of her armor, hair, cloth, and weapon, avoiding her face and base. This is how it should look. Next, we will take Balthazar Gold and Fleshhtone Red to make a rose gold color. You will need to mix 4 parts gold to 1 part red to achieve this look. This will be used to paint all of her armor details, starting with her chest piece and moving on to Londriel's relic helmet and halo, like so. Once these are completed, you will then apply the color to the trim of her shoulders, as well as her thigh armor. This is how it should look at the end. For the weapon, we are going to paint the very bottom, the handle, and parts of the tip of the spear. For beginners, only paint as much trim as you are comfortable doing, as there is a lot. Matt has painted the main parts of the trim for the most effect in the fewest steps. We will now take Zandri Dust and Averland Sunset for the hair. Mix 1 part Zandri Dust with 1 part Averland Sunset to 1 part water and paint it over the white prime. If you want the hair more yellow, add more Averland Sunset, and if you want your hair more lighter, just add more Zandri Dust. Please make sure you are applying a good amount of coverage. Once that dries, take Agrax Earthshade, watered down, and apply it into the recesses of her hair, like so. Using Abaddon Black with a fine detailed brush, paint her gloves and block out the eyes. We will add the white to them later. With Cadian Fleshtone, we will start to pick out the higher details of Londriel's face, which is her nose and cheeks, as seen here. Shyish Purple will be used for her lips to give some depth. This is how your model should look. Using Corax White and a fine detailed brush, we are going to pick out the whites of her eyes and come back with Abaddon Black for Londriel's pupils, completing her face. We will now take Frostheart Blue, and focusing on the base, mix 1 part paint to 2 parts water. You will use a medium fine brush to glaze the warp fire and the water. At this step, the paint should go on smooth. Make sure it is evenly covered and try to avoid the stone. Once this is dry, take Baharroth Blue and with a small dry brush, lightly go over the top edges of all the Frostheart Blue. Making sure to wipe off any excess paint from your brush, the coverage should be around 60 to 70%. Your model should look like this. Switching over to a fine detailed brush, we will take the same color and paint the 2 gems on her headpiece and the gem on Londriel's weapon. Don't forget to also do the gems in her hair, like so. Using Nuln oil and a 1:1 ratio, you are going to do the stone of the base with a medium brush, which will complete the look. To further highlight the model, we can use U-shaped bone for her hair, like so. And use Hoth Blue to highlight the cloth painted earlier. This will give Londriel's some depth. Make sure in this step to use the side of your brush, as this will help you to catch the edges of the blue cloth only. AK silver can be used to go over the top of all the metallics, including the rose gold. This will give it an easy shine effect, as seen here. With Corax white, dry brush all of the blue and gray on the base. You want to achieve around 20 to 25% coverage. Remember to wipe off as much excess paint, as this is supposed to go on lightly. For the very last step, use Abaddon black in a 1:1 ratio to paint the rim of the base. If you followed all the steps with matte, your model should look something like this.
There you have it. Polinore and Londriel are ready for battle. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe to stay tuned as we will be painting all the models of each faction.